Hey guys, I'm AJ.
I'm Shanique.
I'm Tazi.
So in 2018, we quit our jobs to travel the world and live a freedom lifestyle.
We wanted to share our journey with you.
So welcome to the family.
Okay, hi family, welcome back. It's Shanique here from FroFamilyTravels, and today we have another episode of Black Brits Abroad, where we share journeys of people who were born in the UK, lived in the UK, and decided enough. They were going to quit the UK for other places around the world, and today is another one of those stories, and I'm really pleased to introduce to you Taiwo. So hi Taiwo, welcome to Black Brits Abroad.
Hey. How are you? Thank you for that wonderful welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about your story. So I'm going to hand straight over to you. Can you tell us more about yourself and how you got
well,
here?
my name is Taiwo. I'm in my 50s. I won't tell you how old I am exactly because I don't like to attach a number to my age, but I'm in my 50s, so I've lived my life. I'm still living my life, my glorious 50s. And I've been living now in the Caribbean since 2012, so for 10 years. I came here in 2012, at the end of 2012. My husband was here already. He'd already come over a few months before to get everything ready. But I came over after he got everything because we initially went to live in the Commonwealth of Dominica because that's where he's from. And, my husband was living in Holland. He was working and living in Holland, and I was working and living in London. And I remember when I met him many years ago, he said to me, he wants to go back to his homeland. And I thought, wow, yes, because that's what I wanted. But this is before I'd even met him. And I always wanted, I don't know why it's the Caribbean called me, because my people are from Nigeria. So I still ask myself that to him sometimes. So why is it, that I've always wanted to go? I didn't know where in the Caribbean I wanted to go. I had no idea. I just knew that because even when I used to go on holidays when I would be in England, me and the boys would go to the Caribbean, go to Jamaica quite a few times because my godmother was from Jamaica. St. Lucia, Trinidad. My children's father's from Trinidad, and we'd always just, I'd go St. Lucia, I'd go with friends, whatever. So I'm always in the Caribbean, and I love the Caribbean. And so my whole thing, it was like everybody wants to go back to Africa, and that's cool, that's great. But I've always wanted to go to the Caribbean, and up to now I can't tell you why. Well, I think I do kind of know why, but kind of a deeper spiritual thing for me. But I've always wanted to be in the Caribbean. So meeting my husband many years ago, and then that's one of the first things he said to me. And I said, wow, I think this could work, because it seemed so far away. And then it gradually came nearer. We were in the relationship, a long distance relationship for a while. And then we kind of linked up together, and then we got married. So I met him in 2006. We got married in 2012, and then we came over to the Caribbean. So we came initially to the Commonwealth of Dominica because we had land out there in the house, and we were there. We kind of go back and forth, really. We're also living in Guadalupe because it was easier in terms of, health and work-wise for us. Because in Commonwealth of Dominica, it wasn't really working for us in a sense, work-wise and health-wise. Not that we had anything wrong with us, but at that time as well, you have to remember that, I don't know if you know, Guadeloupe was an overseas French department. In other words, the French colony. Mm-hmm. And at the time, Britain was still in the EU. So I was able, and then my husband, he has his EU passport way before he met me. He's got his Dutch passport. So we kind of declared it was much more easier to kind of have our kind of also dealings in Guadeloupe, which is next door to Dominica. It's only a ferry trip away. And then so in terms of health, at the time when we came over, it was 2015, and England was still in the EU. So I was able to come over, get my social security number, get all my health sorted out. And my husband also has links in Guadeloupe, got lots of family over here. So we were able to kind of merge everything together. We still go to Dominica. I mean, we hadn't been able to go for the last couple of years because of the whole pandemic. But now we've been, go back and forth, go to our house. And yeah, so we kind of, I always say it's island hopping, I do a lot of work remotely. My husband works over here. So we managed to kind of, what's the word? We managed to integrate both islands together in a sense. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
That's really living here in the Caribbean. And it's kind of, my whole dream. I believe in the law of attraction and I believe in manifestation. So all of that was coming through for many years ago, even before I met my husband. I always used to dream of the Caribbean. I don't know what that is. And I remember a story I have to say. I was in Jamaica. This is in the 90s. And I can't remember when it was. Okay, it was a time when Beanie Man came out with Girls Them Sugar. You were probably still young, but there was a track that came out, Girls Them Sugar. So that was blasted everywhere. And I was in Jamaica anyway with my god sister. We were there on holiday. And it was just everywhere. Girls Them Sugar. Every time I hear that, it just reminds me of Jamaica. I mean, I've been to Jamaica other times, but that just was a year for me that we had such a great time in Jamaica. And so we were outside this club because we wanted to get into this club because Beanie Man was doing a PA and we wanted to go and see him doing Girls Them Sugar. And so we were outside this club. We were just standing there and just trying to get in. And then we see this great big stretch limo come pull up. And Beanie Man comes out of all his followers or whatever, his neighbors, whatever. And then he's walking along. And then we're just standing in the crowd, just talking. And then I must have been facing him or facing out. And he goes, oh my goodness. I didn't understand him because he speaks like Jamaican, the accent. So I don't want to do an imitation. But basically, he was saying, well, I had to get my god sister to translate him because I didn't understand what he was saying. But basically, he was saying that he said, you look favor. My aunt Hyson, he kept on saying that I'm his family. He could not believe an image, spitting image of his aunt. He could not believe because he said, you hear that. And I was like looking at him and I was going, no. I'm from England and my family come from Nigeria. He said, but that's it. You're the lost family. You're that lost link. And that's what I think it is sometimes, because I was saying to my husband the other day, sometimes we forget. We always hear about the narrative about the stolen people from Africa, but we never hear about the narrative about the people they left behind. Like the aunties, the uncles, the grandfathers, the nieces, the nephews, the family members. So what about them? And this kind of links into every time I've been to the Caribbean, I always get this. I always get that. When I was in Dominica, even when my husband first met me, he said, look, I look like somebody from his village. When I'm in Dominica all the time, is so-and-so your family? Is this person your family? Is this person your family?
Wow.
Is that person your family? Everywhere I've gone in the Caribbean islands, even in Guadalupe, but they're asking French, is this your family? And I'm saying, no, I'm from, and I have to go through that whole kind of spiel again. No, well, I was born in England, my family from Nigeria. Nigeria, like over here, Nigeria? C'est bon? And I have to go through the whole thing again. So I think that's really where my connection, there's some kind of missing link connection, and maybe that's part of what's going on with me. I don't know. I mean, obviously others who come here, who are not from the Caribbean, from the African diaspora or the diaspora, So yeah, I find it fascinating.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
The fact that you've been drawn to those places, and like you said, despite your family being from Nigeria, because like you said, the narrative that we hear at the moment is going back to the motherland. A lot of people are focused on the motherland, which
is wonderful in itself. Yeah.
Wow.
But when people think, when I tell them I'm from, my family from Nigeria, I was born in London, but Nigerian, I've got because they always like, where's your name from? Because I also usually use, Williams is my married name. But I said, Anson, so many Williams. Just, I want to keep my name. So I usually double barrel it and use my name, Ogunike, and Williams, sometimes to them, and so when I tell them my name, they say, "Oh, but that's not," And then I again give them my narrative about this is my family. My family from Nigeria, and my husband's from the Caribbean, from Dominica, and we kind of pushed the names together. So yeah.
Yes. Wow, amazing.
It is an amazing, and a funny thing is that some of the themes, I think I said to you, I'm writing a novel, and the overall, the underlying theme of this novel is about home, whatever home is to that person, because we all say back home, but to me, home to me is the Caribbean. Maybe I'm disrupting the narrative. I don't know. I like to disrupt narratives sometimes, but to me, home to me is the Caribbean. I've always felt like home, not taken away from when I have been to Nigeria, it's kind of home, but I've never felt belonging there. I feel like I belong in the Caribbean, So that is my story. I've never wanted to be Caribbean. I'm always proud of my African, my Nigerian, my Yoruba roots. Intrinsically, that's who I am. But it's different about being something and feeling something, and I feel at home in the Caribbean. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I'm very, and that's often why we like to refer to ourselves sometimes as global citizens.
Yes, global citizens. That's what. Yeah.
We have to remember that at the end of the day, we are all one people. We are all descendant of the same great ancestor. And these borders, countries have been created.
Yes, exactly.
Even just the structure of the physical structure of the world right now, the landscape has changed. We used to be a lot closer than we currently are now.
Exactly.
So it's all
labels. Exactly. Because I say to my husband, well, I'm just a global citizen, because even before I settled in the Caribbean, I was always traveling, when I could, even with my children when they were younger, we didn't have social media then, because I'm sure if there was social media, I'll be documenting, because it's good to, keep a document of what you're doing. And I love to do that, not to overshare, but just to let them know it's possible to travel with your children. I was doing that from when my children were small, putting one on my back and, traveling, and because me and my their father, we had finished our relationship. It was cool. We just went our way because it wasn't working. But we co-parented very successfully, And but so when it was like my children, their holidays and things like that, I'd say to their father, Michael, can I take them away? Here we're going to Morocco, we're going to Tanzania, or do you have plans for them? So we'd always kind of weighing up everything, But I always wanted to show my children that you are not just belonging to this place, you are a global citizen. I was using that a long time ago, that the world is yours and you can go anywhere you want to. Yes, you might have some challenges because of the melanin content of your skin, but that should never stop you from traveling to places that you're not meant to really be in a sense, So when I remember coming along across you and your husband and I thought, oh my goodness, that's so amazing, that's wonderful, I just love it. And then you're from England. You don't really see that because we're too scared, I think, sometimes to step out of our comfort zones, and that's what it is as well. Stepping out of your comfort zones to go to this place, to make this place home for a while, or whatever, however you want to, or wherever you want to make home be, So I admire both you and your husband and your child and another baby coming along that you add to that whole wonderful adventures that you have, So yeah.
Thank you. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to create this platform and this series in particular, because I think often the travel industry, the travel narrative has become very Americanized, and we don't often hear an alternative version.
Very rare. I love it. I love to see my people, going on and having fun, like with the travel noir and things like that. I love it. But there is very rarely any narrative coming from our perspective, I don't know if there's any other Black British people out there doing what you're doing, but you don't hear about it, So yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I think there are, but I think, like you said, we don't hear about it as often. I don't know if there are many spaces where people are sharing those stories. So I just thought, well, let me try take a little bit up, a little corner in the internet to share some of this.
Yeah, it's wonderful, you know. So yeah, so the Caribbean has always been a kind of safe space in a sense for me. I think also when I look, if I want to look at it in a deeper way, I had that kind of disconnect with my family because I was fostered when I was younger as well, and I was in children's home. So I think that it's probably, and then when the kind of difference came along in terms of the kind of nurturing, it was my godmother who stood in. So that's, I think, as well, why I kind of was really attracted to the side of, you know, first of all, it was Jamaica. I never wanted to be Jamaican because I always knew that I was Nigerian. I was always proud of that. But that nurturing and loving side came from Margaret, my godmother, who's no longer with us on this realm. But she came along and she kind of nurtured me in the place of others who were meant to nurture me. And that's not sort of being disrespectful to my mother, that's just the reality of my life at that time, you know. So that all, I think, kind of fits into why I've always been why I've always resonated with the Caribbean, because for me, it was all about love. It was just love, pure unconditional love. I was accepted even though I wasn't from there, they still accepted and still even today, you know, it's the same thing. Like when I came into my husband's family, it was all about love and just I just accepted. They listened to, oh, you know, they used to say, oh, you're a true African queen. I said, no, we're all African queen. But you know, it was I've always been accepted. They never said, oh, you don't belong here. I was just accepted, and it was just and that's how it's always been, you know. So yeah,
I love that. I love that. You know, I think that's something that's really important as well. And for people to know, because sometimes I think people feel that if they do not have direct heritage or links to a country, that it might be difficult for them to be accepted there.
Right.
But, you know, that you've had all these countries, these cultures that have just shown you love. Unconditional love.
Exactly.
That's
and
beautiful.
That for me was the kind of aha moment for me, the epiphany moment that I said, wow, you know. But that doesn't take away from my culture and the pride that I have in the Yoruba culture, because I've been studying Ife, which is the Yoruba spirituality for many years, and I've really ingrained myself into that. But so that's where my whole pride comes out, how they do things with the Orisha and Ifa. So all of that is also another part of who I am, you know. It doesn't fragment, you know, in terms of taking away from the Caribbean love and experience I have, because I found love in the Ifa and the Orisha, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, we have multiple levels of ourselves and layers exactly. And you know, you're just tapping into those different parts of you. I think it's beautiful. It makes it a colorful experience as well, you know.
Most mosaic, as I say to my husband, you know. So
I like that.
So here I am in the Caribbean. I can't see myself being anywhere else, you know, in the world. I mean, I'll go out and travel, but this is home to me. I finally come to that, you know. As I said, I've been here for 10 years. There's been challenges along the way, but you know, as I've always said, my challenges then become my triumphs, you know. So hey, I'm still here, you know. So nothing is any difficult from what I have to do now. You know, living in Guadalupe is French. It's French. It's primarily French. It's French. Everything is French. French law, French this, French that. They have the Creole. And there's Guadeloupeans who are really into that. They tap into their Africanness and, you know, really tap into their Africanness. I think more so than I think in any other island that I've seen in terms of, it's kind of ironic in a way, because it is a French overseas department, yet there's a large number of Guadeloupeans who really tap into their Africanness, you know, and you hear it with the drums. They've got this genre of music called waka, which means big drum. I hope I'm saying it right. Waka. My Guadeloupean friend always says, no, Taiwo, you see the twog, it's just the right way. But anyway, so Elaine, I'm trying to say it the right way, but it's called waka, and it's big drum. And you hear that every Saturday in every commune. You hear the drums and you see them dancing African, and it's just so beautiful to see. And it's like, again, that then reminds me that yes, I'm in the Caribbean, but it's part of, this Africanness and this what they're doing. It fits into who I am. So
Yeah.
it's a really interesting journey for me, I think. Yeah.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah.
And you said you have 2 sons.
Yes.
Are they with you?
No. They're big. They're grown. They're grown. They're both in their 20s, late 20s. So yeah.
How did they feel about you moving?
They just, as I said, as long as I'm happy and they know that Ensign, my husband, is good to me, then they're fine. So they're cool with it. It's not been something, oh, mum, don't go. They just wanted to know that I was okay, and I am. And we talk all the time on social, WhatsApp and things like that. So yeah.
Nice, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you have 2 countries to tell us about.
Right.
So what does a typical day look like for you, if a typical day exists?
A typical day looks like, if a typical day, because I don't think a typical day exists for me, because everything is different. I give thanks when I wake up in the morning. I try be consistent with my walking. Because we moved to a new area about 4 months ago, and this area is so much better than where we lived before. It's a fishing village where we live. So about 7-minute walk, we've got the bayfront. So there's this wonderful bay where we just walk. We do our morning walk, me and my husband. We walk. Then I come back and I sit in front of the bay and I meditate for a little while, because I like to do my meditation. And then I come back and my husband will go to work or whatever, because we start off like about 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes, depends. And then I do my meditation again, and I just write. I just create, really. And if it's not creating, I do my jewelry, because I love my jewelry. I make my jewelry. I don't have a website for it. I know people have been asking me about my earrings for a while, and I haven't really done anything about selling them, because it's too much for me to get my mindset into that right now, But I'm just writing, because my number one priority right now is to get my book published in the next couple of years. But I really want to I've got a few publishers apparently are quite interested in it, because I pitched it to them already. But yeah. So I'm really just focusing on writing it, because it's quite a big book. It's a novel, but it's many stages. So I'm just trying to put all the pieces together, and I'm just writing. That's my priority right now. Sometimes I go to my blog, but I haven't been on my blog for a couple of years now, which is not good, because I've got quite a few subscribers, and they've been writing to me saying, Taiwo, what's happened to your adventures in Guadalupe or Dominica? And I haven't really been writing about that. But I think my priority is right now with my book. I was also, I don't know, I counsel. I'm a counsellor. I worked in that field for many years in England as a cognitive behavioural therapist counsellor. And sometimes I do sessions online, but I very rarely do that anymore, because it kind of takes me outside of what I'm doing right now, and it's 2 different paths, and I don't really want to be on that path anymore. It pays the bills, I guess, but I've got bigger things that I want to do, and I loved doing it then when I was in London, but I'm not in London anymore. I'm in the Caribbean. But sometimes I do it. Sometimes I do some sessions, but it's not really. But what I really want to do is, my number one priority is to do to finish off my novel. And I'm really thinking of doing coaching, because somebody said I think I should do life coaching. I'm interested in that, because it takes my counseling in a different path. But that's not really my number one. My number one priority is to finish this book, and I'm just focusing on that. Because sometimes Taiwo tends to procrastinate a lot. Sometimes I'm just thinking, I'm at the desk on my right, and I'm thinking, that beach is calling me. I just want to go on the beach. I'll get in the car, put in the sun lounger, and I just go and lie on the beach for a little while. And then, because the beach is quite near to us now, whereas we have the bayfront, and then we've got a beach, which is about a 7-minute drive from here.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but it's not always the beach. It's not the beach every day that people might think. My friends think that I'm just lying on the beach every day. I wish, because I've got things that I need to do. So I'm sure it's the same for you as well. They think that's what you do every day,
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
they do. They think it's just easy living, cocktail in hand, laptop on the
No,
beach.
I wish it's not. It's
Rarely,
not.
rarely is it
No,
that, to be
rarely.
honest.
Exactly. Rarely. Yeah. It's like you're living your life, but it's just in another
That's it.
country. You
Yeah.
pay your bills. You go through your struggles. You go through your challenges. It's just in a different. Yeah, it's in a better climate. It's hot and whatever, but you're still having to do your things. Like over here. We're dealing mainly with administration, for instance. Over here, the administration's crazy. It's so bureaucratic. Everything's got to be done over the I, cost of the tea, and you do your taxes. You're going to do this and that and that, and it's like, oh, it's crazy. A lot of things we do online, so it's not too bad. I do speak a bit of French. My French is not great, but I get by. And when I do speak, it's funny when I do, like if I'm speaking to somebody at the bank or whatever, and they know straight away that I'm not French because, well, you can hear my accent. So when I say something, they can hear, they say, pardon, pardon. I say, oh, pardon, pardon, mon friend, c'est peu, mais, parce que, blah, blah, blah. And they're just looking at me like that because they can hear the accent. I say, okay. And then they speak back to me and they speak really fast. And then I say, look, slow down. Slow down. And then they ask me, they assume I can speak Creole because, they only speak French and Creole. No, I don't speak Creole. They're quite puzzled by that. Then I had to go into that narrative again. Well, no, I'm not. And then they say to me, Dominique, because Dominica speak the same Creole as they do over here, right? It's the same French Creole. And then they say to me, Dominica. I say, no, 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 no. No, then they say Creole. And I said, no, no, no. Dominica. I said, no, 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 no. Then I have to tell them, no, I'm from England. My husband's from Dominica. It's the same thing. I get used to it now. And then they're puzzled that I can't speak Creole because usually when you're like my husband speaks Creole very fluently and he speaks French fluently. So, my husband, when he was growing up, that's what they spoke to him was Creole. That's all they learned. It's only when they go to the schools that like in Dominica now, because Dominica's got a really kind of different history because it was England French. They were going back and forth from the 1700s. It was England wanted, then French, then England, then French, then England. So finally, it was England, and then they got their independence in 1978. So they speak English. So when you go to Dominica, you'll have no problems with getting around because they speak English, but they also speak Creole. When my husband was growing up, they all spoke Creole because only when they go to when they went to school, they spoke English. But here, they speak Creole, and when you go to school, they speak French. They prefer to speak French because they say it's the best thing to speak. It's the same thing as like they say, don't speak patois, speak English. It's that whole mentality, So, but people speak Creole here, basically, mostly speak Creole rather than French, So they always say to me, do you speak Creole? I say, no, but I understand it, but I don't speak it, I keep on saying to my husband, speak it to me, but he gets frustrated with me after a while. So he just speaks he just speaks English and that's it, So, yeah.
So have there been any culture shocks since you've been living in the Caribbean, that hit you like a ton of bricks?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I remember when I first came to Dominica in 2012. I'm a counselor, so counselors, we have a counselor speak back. Are you okay? Are you well? Are you fine? It's just something that we just say, Are you okay? Are you? How are you doing today? So when I was in laughing about that, it makes me laugh. When you look back and you just have to laugh. So when I was in Dominica, I'd meet people and say, how are you doing today? How are you? Are you okay? And so I'd be saying it to everybody, but guys, and then I would get chatted. They don't care if you're married in Dominica. They'll still try and chat you up. And so I'm saying, are you okay to people? And so after a while, they'd be asking, they'll say to my husband, because my husband's got a street name called Moggy, right? Don't ask me where he got that name from. They called him Moggy, right? I called him Ensign, but they called him Moggy. They said, Moggy, so where's that English girl? And I said, that English girl's my wife, right? So, and everything. And they were just like try to come on to me. It's really weird because I'm asking them how they are because nobody asked them how they are in Dominica. Nobody asked them, say, what do you want? They just say, well,
really?
I'm coming from a different kind of mentality. And so it's like you have to be really careful how you are perceived in a sense, because it's so different from when you're in, I guess, in England. Because even in England, we say, how are you doing, how are you feeling? But they look at it differently. So it's like my husband, I was like saying to him, it's like they're all trying to come up with me. He goes, yeah, because the way you speak. What do you mean? It's not your accent. It's just the way you're saying how are you? And they're looking at it differently. I mean, my husband, obviously, he's very secure, so it wasn't no problem with him. But he would be laughing at me, and telling me, no, you can't say ask them how they're doing all the time, because they're going to take it a different way. So that was something I had to learn. That's something I had to learn. And now I do it in a way which they kind of, I'm not rough with them, but I just have to set the boundaries. Yes, that's what it was. I wasn't really setting the boundaries because I had no idea. And my husband didn't give me any teaching aid around it. I kind of had to, it's like, when, if you can think about, when sometimes you get mothers and they just throw their babies in the water and they have to learn to swim. I had to learn to wade in the water and understand what the social mores were of that land, and so and I just know, even over here as well, like every day, like if you're walking on the street or you're in a shop, you always say bonjour. You don't just just walk past. The same in Dominica, you say good morning if you're walking on. Like when I was in Dominica, our house is like on this hill. And so I used to do my exercise going up and down the hill, and I could go right into the village. And everybody you pass, even you got your headphones on, good morning, how are you? You don't pass anybody and not say good morning. You don't get that in England. You're into your own little box, So all of that I had to kind of learn, because I'm from London. In London, it's just like, it's very anonymous. You get on the train, nobody looks at you, nobody looks in your face, nobody starts conversations. But here in the Caribbean, even in, as I said, in Guadalupe, because it's still the Caribbean, it's like, bonjour, ça va, which means, how are you? Ah, ça va bien, comment tu? Like, how are you? So you have this little conversation. If you're on the bus, you don't ignore anybody. It's like this conversation that you have, and that's it. But it's always acknowledging each other in your space. It's not like that. So I think for me, that was my biggest cultural kick up the backside.
Really nice. I like that.
Yeah, it is nice. It is nice because it acknowledges you, who you are, And so it's just, even when I'm on my walks or my little runs, it's like you're walking, bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. It's just, if you don't do that, people will think that you're rude, Yeah. So I think for me, that was my biggest thing. And I think also, I don't know, because even though I'm very British, that is just my reality. I was born in London. I'm a Londoner, so it was always very, like the tones of people and just trying to read the tones and how people, it's like reading them and how you're perceived and how you're perceived to them and how you perceive, So it's all of that as well was a very kind of big thing for me, because being in London, as I say, going to work every day, getting on the tube and on the bus, nobody says anything, it's just different, So, yeah.
Have you been back to the UK since you left?
Yeah. A few times now. I wanted to go back, obviously, last year, the year before, but because of the COVID, I couldn't go back. So I'm hoping to go back. Well, not hoping. I am going back in August for about a month. Yeah. I look forward to going, but I also look even more forward when I'm leaving because it's cold. Because the last time I went, it was in 2019, and I went for the summer and everything like that. And I thought, this is not summer. This is not summer, And I spent 2 weeks in Manchester. I've got some good friends up there. And I don't know if you've been to Manchester. Anyway, anywhere up north of Watford, like when you're going up north, it's so cold. And this was in the summer. And I was like, literally, I had to go to Primark and buy some cardigans because I'm coming with my summer gear. Like, who did I think I was coming with summer gear? I should know that summers in UK are not summers, In fact, when I did come to England, it was warm. They had a bit of a, what was the word?
Wave?
A bit of a heat wave. Oh, it's bloody hot. you know, and so I came, you know, with my summer stuff because that's all I really have, you know. And then so it was okay, a heat wave, and I'm thinking, well, heat wave, okay, but it's hot in the Caribbean. And then I went to Manchester, and it was freezing, and it was still the summer, and it was grey, and I'm thinking, I so want to go back to the Caribbean. And then I was there for 2 weeks, and then came back down to London for a few days, stayed with my son and everything like that. And then I was so happy, and he drove me to the airport. I was so happy to get on the plane. I was so happy. And my husband was in the Caribbean because he couldn't get any leave off work. But I was so happy to see him, so happy to be in a hot weather again. So yeah, I miss all of that really, you know. I try to come, when I do come to England, I try to come in their summer, you know, or kind of towards the last bits of summer, you know. So yeah. I don't really envision coming in the winter time for real. I cannot even imagine myself coming in the winter, and I haven't been yet. So touch wood, you know, I need to really go in the winter.
Yeah, understandable. Now, hubby and I have said we are not going back to the UK in December or around that time, ideally.
Who would want to go unless you have to?
Unless you have to,
you know,
exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. But for me to choose it to go, no. I'd rather go when it's a bit more milder, you know. So
yeah. No, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So what would you say that you love most about living in the Caribbean?
Oh, wow, so much. I mean, okay, so in Dominica now, I love Dominica. I don't know if you know, it's called the Nature Island, and it's just so beautiful, just nature. It's just I just love living. I prefer Dominica over Guadalupe, if I was to be fair, you know. But I love Guadalupe because it's kind of more modern. Like, you go to Dominica and it's literally sometimes you think that you're in the 18th century country. And that's no disrespect to Dominica. It's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
You know, with Dominica, it's like there's somebody who said this. I can't remember if it was a famous person, but they said, you know, if Christopher Columbus came back to Dominica, because apparently he was meant to discover Dominica on a Sunday. They said if he came back, he would still recognize it.
Oh,
yeah. But Dominica's got a different kind of vibration and energy to Guadeloupe. Dominique, like for instance, Guadeloupe, obviously because it's French, the infrastructure is very good, you know, amazing. It's like when I first came to Guadeloupe in 2015, and I was like shocked to see Guadeloupe because coming from Dominica, I thought this cannot be Guadeloupe. It's like they have so much social housing. They have a lot of social housing out here, new flats. Like, it's like, I mean, they have all that other stuff as well, but it's just so different, you know, compared to Dominica. So when I came to Guadeloupe, I literally, I think for the first week, I was like, I was my eyes wide open and like, am I in the Caribbean? It was really weird. So it's very kind of modern in that sense, you know, but it's kind of got its ups and its downs, you know. But Dominica, I think, is my favorite because it feels like I'm in the Caribbean in Dominica. I'm obviously in the Caribbean here, but it's got a different sense of rhythm and different energy over here. But I think Dominica is my favorite. I love being in Dominica. I love the people. The people just make me laugh so much. They're just a different kind of people. And I just love it, the nature. And it's got 365 rivers. So I'm always down by the rivers or streams, you know.
Nice.
I just love it. It's just got a different energy altogether. I love Dominica. If Dominica had all the things that Guadeloupe had, I don't think we would be here, you know.
Okay.
So we're here really solely because, I mean, my health is good, my husband's health is good, but, you know, just have to have a place, I think, where you got good health care. And it's not in Dominica. I'm being real because I saw even how they treated my mother-in-law. She's passed now. When she was and she's from Dominica, so I'm thinking I remember in my back of my head, I'm thinking, if something happens to me and I'm in Dominica, no, you know, and that's when we started looking at coming over here, you know. But as I said, for me, Dominica is my favorite. I love being in Dominica. We have our house and our land out there. So I love being out there. And I love the people more. The people over here are very they can be very standoffish. They I think they emulate their oppressors, the French people. I don't like French people, so make that out what you. Well, not so I don't like I love Guadeloupe people, but it's like they've got a different energy compared to Dominicans, you know. I'm not saying all of them because I haven't met all of them, but the ones that I've met are a bit kind of standoffish. But I think it's because they can't figure out, because when they hear my accent, they can't figure out where I'm from, and when I say I'm from, so it's like really weird. And then when I speak in French, so it's a different. I mean, I have got some really pros here as well, and some cons here, and I can say pros and cons of Dominica. But I'm happy that they're near, so we can go back and forth. You know, it's not like it's inconvenient. You get on the ferry, it's about an hour and 10 minutes on the ferry, and you're in Dominica, and it's like you're literally in a different place. It's like the land before time.
Wow.
Yeah. I do like Dominica. It's definitely my favorite. Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us a bit more about the cost of living in each country? Because I think when people think of moving to the Caribbean, to maybe one of those countries in particular, they're wanting to know, how much is it going to cost me?
Right. So Guadeloupe is very expensive, because if you think about Guadeloupe again, it's in the French, it's in the EU, so we're using euros. A lot of their stuff is imported. There's a lot of local products here, but the French product, I feel, has got the priority. So I think it's very expensive here in terms of when you're food shopping. And I think it's expensive in general. It's expensive. It's very expensive. It's not too bad living here. Our flat that we have is a subsidized flat, for instance. So we pay about 400 and something a month, which is not bad at all. It's 2 bedrooms and it's really nice, right? So that's reasonable, and because it's in the social sector. But if you're privately renting, it's expensive. You're looking at, I don't know, if you're privately renting, like for a 2 bedroom, for instance, you're looking at about 1,200 euros a month, right? So I think it's very expensive in terms of renting, food, materials. Everything is quite expensive. But then, having said that, you've got everything here. Everything is here. You know, it's not like you'd have to look anywhere else. It's all here. You know, you've got the big shops, the big malls, everything. So it's very modern. So you can get your up to date Apple phone here. You can get your up to date iPad. All the things up to date. Whereas in Dominica now, it's opposite. It's also very expensive in Dominica, which I don't understand. It's extremely expensive. But it's EC dollars, right? Eastern Caribbean dollars. So, but you don't get the up-to-date things in Dominica. And plus, the postal services is just zilch. There's no postal service. They don't have zip codes, which I've never understood that. So, like, for instance, if you have a business, for instance, and you're looking to bring things in, it's like, because we had our little, because we also have I forgot to say that, we also have our business. My husband is a herbalist. He's a certified herbalist, and he makes soaps and oils and things like that. And we're going to launch our website later on this year. But over in Dominica, it was very hard to do our online stuff because it's like you can't post. It's just impossible. Whereas over here, you can do all that. It's very easy. They've got post offices in each commune, and it's very easy to post and get your Amazon. Like, to get your Amazon in Dominica, I remember my Kindle had broken when I first got there. And because it was still under warranty, I had to send it back. It was such a long thing to send back and get back. And then when I got it back, I had to go to customs, and you have to pay so much. And you're thinking, why? Just for a little Kindle thing, And it's really difficult. It's difficult. There's no logical sense about trying to do things in Dominica in terms of business-wise. For me, that's my experience. It might be different for other people, but my experience, I saw, postal service is awful. You can't send things or get things very easily. It has to come from shipping, and when you go down to the ship. Well, luckily my husband does all that because he knows how to deal with Dominicans. He's Dominican himself, so you have to have a certain attitude and everything like that. But it's still hard. It's still hard to get things, shipping, and it's just hard, Whereas here it's very, very easy. They have a DHL was it FedEx? They have a FedEx in Dominica, but it's extraordinarily expensive, So you can't really do anything logically. Whereas over here, it's reasonable to send things and to get things. So, the pros and cons on both sides, But I think they're both expensive. As I said, the rent that we have right now is good, but that's because we're in the subsidized housing, But in Dominica, the renting, they don't have social housing. It's a bit crazy. It's expensive in Dominica, really expensive. I remember I was missing Cadbury's chocolate, and my son had to send it over to me in time, whatever. So I wanted to get a big bar, just have nibbles on it. And it's like 30 EC dollars, which is about £15. Ooh. Like for a bar of chocolate. Exactly. It's just expensive. It's expensive. So yes, it's very expensive in Dominica, and it's expensive over here. Yeah. And one thing I miss about Guadalupe, they don't have a Marks and Spencer's, and I miss Marks and Spencer's. That's one thing I miss in England. I mean, is there anything you miss from England? Is there anything you miss?
Honestly, apart from our family, sometimes fish and chips. I love.
Oh wow! Yes, of course.
Chips.
Yeah. Oh wow! I never even thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, a good fish and chips. Cause, I mean, we have international restaurants and stuff. Yeah. But there aren't any, like, there's not a fish and chips place here. So I would say maybe fish and chips. Yeah. And what did I asked, my mum's coming soon, and I asked her to bring some clusters, some Kellogg's crunchy nut clusters.
Yes. Things like that, you see, we take for granted when we're in England, and now, because like over here it's all French stuff. Yeah. I mean, they do have Kellogg's and things like that, but it's very expensive. So I just the local stuff or the French stuff, but I don't like it the same way that I like for instance, I was craving for some ready bread the other day. Ready bread, because I finished all my ready bread now, and it's like you can't get it over here. So it's things like that. I know it's really kind of weird, but it's things like that you miss because you're born in a country that you've had access to that all your life, and then you come somewhere else. And this is the thing that we have to remember, I think, because I've got a couple of friends of mine now who've gone to Gambia, and she's like, we're also trying to set up a podcast together. She's in Gambia and talking about the whole issue again about leaving home and migrating and going to other places. She was like saying how one thing that it's really, because she's also got her own business in Gambia, one thing which really pisses her off is the electric, the generator. She's always having to put a generator on, and we take it we don't have any problems with electric over here. We don't have to use generators. So there's things like that you rely on. Everybody needs electricity regardless, and she said sometimes I'll leave her a message and she won't be able to get back to me for a few days because there's no electricity, the generator's really noisy. So things like that we take for granted. It's so she said that, but she loves Gambia. She's been there for 3 years. Her family are from Jamaica, but she was born in England, So it's that whole thing about, things that we take for granted, that we don't maybe have access to, or, make it harder.
Yeah. It's the convenience, isn't it?
It is the convenience,
and I guess you have to decide and be very confident about your reasons for leaving the UK and what it is that you're wanting out of the experience, because you have to put aside some of those conveniences for what you're really after.
Exactly. And I think my major thing for me leaving, even though I said I've always wanted to be in the Caribbean, I think my major thing for me personally was the racism. I couldn't take it. The racism and the cold weather. The cold weather really got to me. And I always remember always looking forward to spring because I knew after spring would be summer, you know, so I'd always be looking forward to that. And then I'd always looking forward to August, and then the end of August Carnival, which I really look forward to because then that would give me that little bit of Caribbean. And then I knew that, okay, September's coming now and it's going to be getting dark and it's going to be getting cold, and that's where I start with getting feeling a bit down. And then, you know, just the racism in general, going into stores and being followed. I hated all of that every time. You know, and just little micro, you know, aggressions that was going on every day as a Black woman in England. You know, it was just like every day, and I didn't like it. I just thought, this is not good for my mental health. I need to come out of this place. You know, I really do need to come out, and I'm not happy here. I'm just not happy here. So for me, I think it was waiting for my children to grow up so they could be dependent, which they both are. You know, have good jobs, which they both do, finish university, which they both did, you know, and just, you know, their father's still there. So it's not, you know, the father's family, so they've got the connection, got the grandmother and everything over there. So it's not like I'm not there and they've got that auntie, my sister, and that uncle, my brother. So they've got their family over there. It's just that I'm not there. But they're okay with that because they knew that I wanted to get out of the country because mummy wasn't happy. So now that I'm out here, I'm very happy. I have my challenges. I'm not saying that everything is the beach because I wish it was, but it's not, you know. Still got to, you know, grind and do what I have to do. But I'm just so much more happier in the place that I call home, you know.
Yeah. There is definitely something special, I think, about being surrounded by melanated.
Okay. Oh, okay. There you go. And I think I said that in one of my blogs that, you know, waking up and then just even like, because when I first came here, I was teaching in some schools. I was doing teaching English, and just, you know, being in the school and seeing the whole face of these bright, beautiful little Black children looking back at me, reflecting, and then going to the teachers, all the teachers. You get some white teachers, but majority Black teachers and Black head teacher, you know, Black this, Black that. And it's just so nice. So for me, that really did something and does something for me still, you know, just being surrounded by that melanin, you know, and that to me is a positive, you know, feeling, you know, for me, and just coming away from all that kind of microaggressions and just being frustrated about everything that's going out there, you know, and just not wanting to be part of that anymore, you know, that knowing that I can come and see my family, you know, and then come back out again and know that I've got somewhere to go to, which is home, you know?
Exactly. No, I feel exactly the same way. And, you know, and just feeling that, you know, it's 2022. We're still dealing with being treated as second best, you know, even in this year. And I just think I find it very difficult to expect. Will change happen in the UK? Will true change happen in the UK? I don't know. You know, I think a country that was basically built on racism, and you have to look at the foundation of the very country.
I don't know if you've been seeing the recent, you know, the roles have been going to the Caribbean. I call it virtue signaling performative moments that they're doing. Because they're scared, because, you know, Barbados has already become a republic. So they're going along, they're saying, they go along for the Queen's Jubilee, whatever. They're going along to see are we still important, you know? So they went to Jamaica, like, what's his name? Not Harry, William and his wife went to Jamaica and all these places. Now you've got Edward and Thingy. And they can never say, look, we're really sorry about slavery. They can never say sorry. I mean, they always come to that little bit where they don't say sorry. They've never apologized, because if they apologize, that means they've acknowledged it. And when they acknowledge it, that means they have to pay.
They have to pay,
they've never acknowledged what the big role that the UK has taken in enslavement. So I'm reading about it, and there's like, you know, people, and then Antigua now, apparently, I was reading just the other day, I think it was on Twitter, that Edward and his wife were in St. Lucia, or Antigua, or something like that, and they said they want their repatriations. They don't want to be part of, you know, this kind of colony anymore. So, and apparently Edward laughed. He laughed, yeah. I think it was a nervous giggle. I don't know what it was, but it's just like, it's interesting because, as you're saying, we're now in 2022, you know? 2022, and I'm tired of paying second best. There's this whole thing now with Tim Westwood. I don't know if you've been hearing about it.
I've heard about it, yeah.
And I got my VPN because I think that's another thing that we should all have. If you're living out of the UK and you want to watch UK programs, get yourself a good VPN.
Yeah, it's true.
So I was watching something on BBC Three on my laptop last night. It was the Tim Westwood thing about it's exposure, but it was only 30 minutes on BBC Three, and it was basically about the women that he had allegedly been sexually inappropriate with. But it was just 30 minutes, and I'm just thinking, so what happens next? Because we all know that it's been going on since the 90s. I know of several women that he's acted inappropriately with, right? And so now you're now coming to it in 2022.
You're right.
When everybody knew about it. Everybody knew about it. It was like a kind of open secret, right? And
you're right.
And is it just because it's just black women complaining about it that our voices are not important?
Exactly that.
And so these kind of things make me peeve, about being there in England, and then how they're treating Jamaicans and putting them on the.
You're right.
The whole Windrush thing got me livid.
Oh God, yeah.
The whole Windrush thing, like people have been there since the 60s, 70s, and they're telling them they're not British. They've contributed to British society, paid their taxes, and they're putting them on planes to go to a place they don't know, which is not their home. They don't recognize it as home. So all of that, and I'm thinking to myself, my mum's not alive now. My mum passed in 1989, but she was an immigrant coming from Nigeria, and she came to study. She became a midwife eventually. And I'm thinking, how would she be seen?
Yeah.
How would she be seen? Because I'm first generation of immigrants, and it's just like that's how we're still seen. We're not seen as part of that, even though they've made all these regulations and rules. I still never felt that I was part of the UK, So that's I just thought, I just remember thinking when my boys were small that as soon as they're big, I'm out of here. Hopefully to the Caribbean. I never wanted to go to America. I never wanted to, I just wanted to go to the Caribbean, So yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything that you said. And that when you mentioned about kind of those open secrets that we all kind of have heard about, know about, like you said about Tim Westwood. Same, like I grew up, those of us that grew up 80s, 90s, because he's that old now. He's 60. We probably
and
all
he's still out there. He's
still in his big age acting like this. Seriously.
I mean, and so that's what makes me so angry. He's still out there, so nobody's put a stop to it. These women came forward, although they did it anonymously, which I can understand, saying what happened to them, and they're still booking him. So that means that our voices are not important, and that's making me so angry. That here we are, we've got this white man who's a so-called gatekeeper to our culture.
Our culture, exactly.
And he's out there abusing black women. And then sadly, you've got some black men who are enabling him because they want to get their tracks played.
He's being enabled. He's been enabled by black people. Some black people, unfortunately.
Yes.
He's been enabled by the BBC, the very people.
By the BBC, exactly. Because I remember 2 years ago there was this trending hashtags. What was it? Ban Tim Westwood, and I jumped on it because I was, as I said, I remember back in the days going to his gigs and seeing his stuff and just not liking the way that he was. Some of the things he would say on the mic, it was just
his mouth is disgusting.
It's right? Disgusting, and I would walk out sometimes. My friends would say, I said, I'm going home. I get in my car and go home. I said, I can't listen to this kind of bullshit, basically. I can't listen to this kind of crap anymore, So, so he's still been allowed to do this. And I'm hearing now he's in Ghana. So can you imagine what he's doing out there? Yeah, he's got a gig in Ghana. He's playing over in Ghana. So he's been booked all the time by these promoters.
Yeah.
And he's denying it. But how can he be denying it when so many women are coming forward? And hopefully that thing that came out yesterday, that more women will come forward. They're just too, they just don't want to open up their mouths and say anything because he is powerful.
I didn't see documentary, I read an article.
Yeah.
The article mentioned that none of the women had gone to the police, but someone said in the documentary they had. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember hearing about some. But I just hoping to myself that when I watched that I thought to myself, I hope the floodgates open and he does get banned, and then he gets banned, all his gigs get taken away from him, and he's just there. I just hope that, but I don't know. You know, this 64-year-old, 65-year-old man who goes, hello dog. I mean, even in the 90s, I used to find him embarrassment.
Yeah.
I said, how can people take this man seriously? I always used to say that. I just used to go, oh God, you know.
Yeah, no, he's sickening. I mean, I do think, like you said, I hope, and I think that things are starting to change. Like you said, there are more women coming forward. So relating to him, even like you said, with these royal visits that are happening across the different islands. I think I read that one of Edward's visits was being cancelled because they were literally asked, like, what is the purpose of you going? Like, how are you contributing to the country? What is the point? What are you doing? Like, millions is being spent here for what? How does it benefit the country in any way?
Yeah.
You know, so I think as Black people, we are recognizing our power, our truth, and starting to not take it anymore. You know, we're starting to stand in our power. And it's long overdue.
Long overdue. Yeah,
long overdue. And I think that power is also translated when we walk away from the UK, you know, and move to these other countries as well.
Right, because we are literally taking our power away from the place that made us. I mean, for me, I can speak on my own truth. It made me so unhappy when I think about it, and I think it did have an impact on my own mental health. Even though I was a counsellor within the mental health profession, it had a real impact on my mental health. You know, like I just wasn't enjoying my life because, you know, when you have your life, you should have some. You should be enjoying it. You should be thriving, not surviving. And I think a lot of us out there are surviving, you know? I'm thriving right now. I'm thriving in the sun. I don't get paid as much as I did but it doesn't matter because it's not about that. It's about my happiness and it's about my joy, you know? And right now I've got my black magic girl thing going on.
I love it.
I'm just happy. I'm thriving, you know? And I think because I always listen to some of my girlfriends and say, and they're just too scared. And I think that fear can really do a number on us. I'm not saying that it's easy because it's not easy to move to another country. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of people like to do their little, they like to arrange and thing. Me, I knew I was going. I didn't know when, but I knew I was going. And if I could have done it differently, I think I would have done. But I'm here, and that's it. I'm still here. You know, and me and my husband, this is the way we do things, and we managed to just throw something at the wall and it managed to stick. The most important thing is that we bought our land and our house many years before, so everything was kind of, you know, there. So we had that foundation already, do you know what I mean? But I think if we could have done it a bit differently, maybe we would have done, but nonetheless, we're here, you know, so yeah.
Exactly, you've done it, and you're enjoying your life, you're loving your life. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to share these stories again. Because people are doing it. You know, people think,
they are doing
it. You know, you're brave. You're different to do it.
There's nothing brave about it. There's nothing brave about it at all. If you want to do something, if you really want to go for something, you go for it. And you either plan it, which is great, or you just go for it. You literally throw something on the wall and it sticks, and you just do it. But if you keep on sitting in your fear, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yes,
trust me, you're just not going to go anywhere. That's the reality of the situation. So I also feel the fear and do it anyway. You know what I mean? So,
I love that. That is one of my favorite sayings. Is feel the fear and do that.
Anyway.
That mantra literally changed my life. Fear is going to exist regardless
all the time,
whatever way you decide.
But it's about how we manage it and how we navigate around it. Do you understand? Yeah. So that's what I
Exactly.
did. I mean, as I said, it was a long time dream of mine from when I was in my teens, the Caribbean. As I said, coming back to it, I don't know what it was. Maybe I'll have my aha moment or epiphany one day, but suffice to say, you know, I asked what was home to me, and home to me is the Caribbean. So, when you're in your home, like I'm in my home right now, it's my sanctuary. I feel safe. I feel celebrated. I feel welcomed. I feel loved. It's all of those different elements of what home means to me. And that's what I feel when I'm in the Caribbean. I feel all those things. Yeah, I get some stupidness sometimes. Like, yeah, what? But nonetheless, that kind of negates all of the positive things that's happening and will be happening for me, And I have my husband who I'm madly in love with. He annoys me sometimes, but I'm madly in love with him, and he is the epitome of what I see I see my future, and that's my future. And my present moment is the Caribbean, and I wouldn't, so I wouldn't change it no other way. And I think, I've spoken to so many people over the time, just with friends, and when I remember when I wrote something on my blog, and somebody got back to me and they said, "Oh, you're really brave," and I said, "I'm not brave. There's no bravery in it. I mean, I can understand what you're saying in terms of that, and that doesn't negate what you're saying and how you're feeling. But I just had to do it. And then so many people have written to me and they said, "Oh, wow, you're an inspiration." I said, yeah, because I could not be in a place anymore that was making me sad. Why am I going to continue to live somewhere where it's making me sad and unhappy? If something makes you sad and unhappy, you have to make yourself happy. You've got to go to the place where you're going to be happy. My happy place is and was the Caribbean. So I'm here.
Wonderful. I love it.
Yeah.
So you said that if you could do your time over again, maybe you would do something a little bit differently. What do you think you would do differently?
Definitely, it would be about all the shipping and all of that kind of thing. Because I think I would definitely advise if you are thinking of going, moving to a different country, check your shipping company, check who they are, do your research, because we had a really negative shipping experience with ours, and a lot of our stuff we didn't get back, but we just have to let that go. Yeah. So I would definitely, one of the first advice to say is, when you know that you're going and you've got the date or whatever, and you want to ship, check and research your shipping agents. Check that they're reputable and they're on top of board and everything like that. We went with somebody who unfortunately did not. We thought at the time he ticked all the right boxes because we would have gone with him, but he didn't. And I think some things are still in Jamaica somewhere. I don't know, but it's okay. As I said, that's why I think if somebody told me that, I would have maybe looked at it differently. So definitely the shipping is a big thing. Make sure that, we had our house and everything like that, so we had our foundation already. But make sure when some people like to, some people, especially if it's a place they go in which they're unfamiliar with, go there for a few months, spend a few months there, feel the place out, see how it feels for you, see how everything works and how everything is, so definitely see that. I knew I was coming to Dominica, so I knew about, because I've been to Dominica before, so it's not like it was the first time. So I kind of, even know about the infrastructure, I was aware of that, I didn't know anything about Guadalupe. That was a bit of a kind of eye opener. But the advantage about living we lived so close. It was like literally we're just across the channel, So it's not too much of a thing. I guess in a sense it is, because they speak French here. My French is not great, but I get by, But always just be aware of where you're going, what avenues are there for you. If you want to do remote work, what you can do. Find out about the internet. If you got, things like that is so important. What kind of internet, what the speed is, if you can do your remote work, all those things. So I guess, I would say go on a trip for maybe a month. See how it is, find out about the renting, all of those things, all of those things. So yeah, I think it's important. But I would definitely say also research your shipping agents. It's really important.
That is important. Yes. Thank you. Good advice. Final question. I know you're writing your novel.
Yes.
But are you actually reading anything right now?
Oh God, I'm reading so many things. Oh my goodness. Whew. Well, I've got a whole list of things I'm reading. Okay, what? Okay. Let me just go into my phone because I can tell you some of the things. I'm a precocious reader, and they said it's one of the things that makes you a great writer is to read. I tend to agree with that. So I can give you some of the things that I've been reading or I have read. I finished reading, and I listen to a lot of audio books as well, especially when I'm doing my housework or if I'm walking on the car or whatever. I've got to put my glasses on for this. Okay, so I have a membership with Scribd, which is an online digital library. So I listen to my books, I read them. I've got a whole load of books here. Right now, I've started reading Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. I'm listening to it and I'm reading it at the same time. It's a biography of Frederick Douglass.
Of course, yes.
Reading or listening to The Warmth of Other Suns, the epic story of the epic story of America's Great Migration. That was really, really good. It's all about the migration of African Americans from the deep south to northern.
North.
That's really good. I'm reading so many. So I'm reading the biography, and I'm reading Wild Women and the Blues. A fascinating. It's basically a historical fiction, because I love historical fiction. It's just about this woman who how can I explain? It's about intrigue, family secrets, about the notion of home. So that was really good for me. I'm reading so many books. I've got a lot of books that I read, and I do it. But I've been a precocious reader since I was. Apparently, my mum was telling me that I was reading when I was by the age of 2. So from then I've been reading. Yeah. And when my babies, when they were babies, I remember getting them their little library cards, because then it was library cards, and we always used to go to the library. This is before, you can see everything online. We used to go to the libraries with my babies all the time. But them library things, we used to go and listen to stories and things like that, and to all of that. But you know what now? What really hurts me, my boys don't even read now. They're just going. I don't know why. They always say that boys and girls are different. I've got 2 boys, and they just don't read. So that's really sad. But yeah, so I'm reading quite a few books, and I'm reading some books around writing as well. Stephen King, about writing. So I read quite a few books. I can get it all. I have it all in my head. So yeah.
Wow.
But the one that I think I'm focusing on right now is the biography of Frederick Douglass as well.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, really fascinating. Yeah.
Wow.
I love biographies. I also finished reading Marcus Garvey's biography a few months ago. It's really big. Yeah. So yeah, I love to read biographies. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Taiwo, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a really nice interview. It was so nice.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
I'm so glad.
Yeah. Well, I want to say to you, thank you for a wonderful interview, and happy deliverance to your new baby. Do you know if it's a boy or girl? Are you going to have a surprise?
Yeah, it's a surprise. We have absolutely no idea.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's really wonderful. That's wonderful, because when I had my second one, well, I didn't know the sex of my first one, because I don't know. They just didn't tell me. And the second one, I remember when I was pregnant with him, and at the time when I was living in London, there was a lot of Bengalis in that environment, a lot of Indians. It wasn't Hackney, but anyway. And so they said they don't give you the sex of the baby, because a lot of them, if they find out they're having girls, they have abortions.
Yes.
Tell me. So I had no idea as well. So it was a complete surprise. And I remember, his father being there and me pushing him out, and I said, "Yes, another book." with the girl. But anyway, they came out healthy, so it's wonderful. So, you know, I just wish you wonderful, you know, time. A wonderful time in your labour. Not exactly. I'm sure you'll be supported and everything like that. So you're glowing. You look beautiful, by the way, sis. And thank you. The interview. I didn't realise how fast the time went. I think
it goes. Wow. It's all good. It's been a good time though. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care, Taiwo.
Okay,
bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.